Hi, and welcome to Equine Business Edge, the podcast for horse professionals who want to build a stronger, more profitable business without losing their passion for the horse industry. I'm your host, Jamie Birch, entrepreneur, horseman, and founder of equinerevshare.com. Each episode, we dive into real-world business strategies, marketing, system, mindset, leadership, growth ideas, specifically for trainers, instructors, clinicians, barn owners, and equine entrepreneurs. This podcast is proudly produced and sponsored by equinerevshare.com, a platform that helps horse professionals earn commissions from the products they already know, use, and recommend every day in one simple click. Now, let's jump into today's episode. All right, Colton Woods, thank you for joining the Business Edge podcast. For those listening, I feel Colton's here at a disadvantage. I know a lot about Colton. I've been following you for a long time. Fortunately, you got a little bit of an intro to who I am before we started recording, but welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to have you here.
No, yeah, Jamie, I really appreciate this. I've been looking forward to it. And heck, I think I jumped on early like 2 weeks ago thinking that was the day that we were going to record. I'm like, I'm ready. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so, no, I've been super excited.
I was getting ready for the day and I'm like, I could be there in like 4 minutes, but give me 4 minutes. Yeah. I was doing some prep for this call, and my Google history of Colton Woods follows the horses I had and the problems I was having. I could tell what horse I had when I watched a video and what problem I had and whether I was successful or not with that based on how far I got through your horse trading video. It brought back some memories.
Well, I certainly hope they were helpful.
They were totally. Well, let's introduce you for everybody. I'll give this a shot. You let me know how I go. So you are a horseman, a clinician, an educator, and an entrepreneur. You're the founder of Colton Woods Horsemanship. You have built a respected online and in-person horsemanship brand. You're known for combining practical horsemanship with leadership and business thinking, marketing. You work with horse professionals on systems, operations, and business growth. You even created a horse business software and operational consulting for equine businesses. You're very passionate about helping horse professionals create sustainable businesses instead of just surviving day to day. And you have an international background. Your family has a strong business background. And like I said, my search history shows what problems I was having and what I was looking for when I was finding your videos originally. How'd I do?
No, yeah, you're right on. I mean, I think people say today, I still haven't figured out what it stands for. The TLDR, right? Like the long and the short of the deal is black sheep of the family, and did not grow up around horses. Got a late start in it. He grew up in a family of international business. Got to live in China for 2 years when I was a kid. That fundamentally changed my perspective on the world. My parents waited until my brother and I were old enough to appreciate it, and it made a dramatic impact just on how to see the world and get exposed to business, and then how I kind of moved through life from there. And it made some momentous changes for me, and saw my dad. I thought my dad was always in an office. He was in international business. He built a company in North Carolina. He built a company in China. We moved over there because he was spending 8 to 9 months a year in China. So Pam was like, what makes more sense if we just go over there? We'll spend more time as a family. But I was like, this is business. So I was like, I'm going to go into agriculture. I'm going to go do something outside. I don't want to be stuck in an office all the time. And what I've come to realize is that he was on an airplane most of the time. He was traveling, getting to and from, and I like to travel. So may not have been such a bad gig to stick with the family business, but God called me in a different direction. And it's been one of the biggest blessings that's led me to meet my wife, starting our family, buying a ranch. And the horse industry has been a blessing in so many ways, whether it's personal growth or business development, or, be able to fulfill the purpose I think I was put here for. So
we have a lot in common. My family is business. I'm the only one who has anything to do with horses or anything. It's definitely city and country mouse in my family. And I've been real excited to get you on the podcast because there are two reasons that I put together this podcast. One is, I've seen so many horse trainers, the horse trainers that we have worked with, have taken care of our kids and our horses. I just seen them put their blood, sweat, and tears into these animals, and we're always, enjoying a cocktail, watching this happen, and they are busting their butts and not always doing very well. So I wanted to put this together and have you on so we can talk about ways that they can create sustainable businesses and do better. But the other one, kind of stemming from that desire to help them do really well. Like, I want to see all the horse trainers,
Hmm.
making good money, not ending up like Clinton Anderson says, broken. From that came Equine Rev Share, that sponsors and produces that, and that came from a conversation that you posted talking to horse trainers about the power of affiliate marketing. And I was literally sitting there in the dust watching my kids in their lessons, and I heard that and I was like, wait, I kind of sit in both of these worlds. um, I'm not a horse trainer, but we ride and we show. But I am a really good affiliate marketer and ran an affiliate marketing agency for just shy of 20 years, sold that in 24. And your discussion on affiliate marketing got me thinking. And we were talking a little bit before we hit the record button. I was sitting there thinking, I couldn't find like, if I had to think of something more annoying for a horse trainer to do, it would be, I have to, my client needs this new bit or a head stall or a saddle pad or whatever. Now I got to go join an affiliate program, and then I got to join this technical platform, and then I got to remember that they
All my
need this
links,
saddle pad.
all my codes.
Yeah, I got to remember my code, or I got to go grab a link, but I'm not in the right platform. All while most likely on your phone, on horseback, training a horse or giving a lesson. And I thought, I love the idea, and I think I'm uniquely situated to do something, and that's where Equine RevShare came out. So thank you for throwing that out there and having that conversation, because it really started this conversation with my team of what can we do, and then we created this platform that is just as easy. When you're training a horse and you got to send a client a product, it's actually easier than you going and searching it in a bunch of different places. So there's two reasons I wanted to have you on. So thanks for joining.
No, yeah. I mean, like I said, when I got your email and you're like, I listened to this podcast, and it kind of kindled a little fire and inspired me to potentially bring these two worlds together to start something. And it's like, you're providing a solution that is needed in our industry, that is it's simple for people to use. I mean, it's not simple for you to create, but it's simple for trainers and professionals to be able to use, that can make a meaningful difference in work that they're already doing, right? And it can make them money. Has their clients have a higher quality experience. They can get the stuff that they need without wasting a bunch of time and money on cheap stuff that doesn't work, or whatever the case is. And at the end of the day, like, the horse industry every industry has its problems, but one of my pet peeves is people that just focus on the problems and they just whine, complain, and moan about them, versus actually, like, let's build a solution. Like, let's actually fix this. And I'm a really big believer that the problems that our industry faces is going to be fixed by professionals in it, because everyone in the industry looks to the professionals for the guidance and for the leadership.
Yeah,
And,
that's true.
and none of us, I mean, even though I grew up in a family of international business, like, I mean, I, my parents were very clear, like, our life is our life. They kind of like, hey, we built this business and you got to learn from it, but our house is our house, and you're welcome
Yeah,
here as long as
you're
you're
on
in
your
need,
own.
but you're kind of a guest here. And when you graduate and you go to school, like, you're off on your own. And I remember when I started my business, like, I bought an engagement ring for my wife, and after I paid for that, I had about $3,000 left in my bank account, and that's what I had. I had an opportunity to start leasing a barn on a dry stall rate. And I started with, one horse, then two horse, and then built up from there. And a lot of people think, oh, you came from an international business family, so you had family backing. Hell no, my parents did. My parents were very skeptical. They were like, this kid had
He
a
had
lot of
money.
potential, and he has a lot of wasted talent now because he's decided to become a horse trainer. Like, they were not very supportive of my life decisions until it suddenly started to look successful. And so I think, you know, my beginning, and I always try, I want to make this clear. Like, I didn't get into this to, like, I don't think any horse professional gets into this to go get rich. right? Now, there's a lot of broken money mindsets in our industry that need to be absolutely blown up, right? Like to your point with Clint saying, like, you don't have to be broken. I tend to say a lot of people, you're burnout and broke. You're working hard to stay broke. Like,
Yeah.
we can work smarter because a business has to be sustainable. If we want to serve our horses, our clients, our students for the long haul, we have to build a business that allows us to do that, not a business that we're fighting with all the time because we're not making enough money and we're working super hard and we're out of time and we're not charging enough. And we have to have, in order for that to be sustainable so that we can serve people like you, you're a client, you got a trainer that you work with. In order for that to be sustainable and that for them to serve you and your kids and your wife at a high level at the farm or at a show, is it has to be sustainable. In order for it to be sustainable, it's got to be profitable. And the cool thing with what you've built with Equine Rev Share is they're able to get, the Equine Rev Share with the affiliate marketing, which is why I've always been a big proponent of affiliate marketing, is as professionals, we're already referring people to products. Like, hey, go buy this pad, go buy this
Oh yeah.
saddle, or go buy this bit, or go buy these boots, or whatever. And we're already referring, but we're not getting paid for the referral. And so that's why to me, I'm like, your clients are going to spend the money anyway. Why don't you just take the 25 minutes to get the system in place? That way you can just dish the link out and you can get paid in the process. And I don't believe in passive income, but it is as passive it's going to get. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
And I always thought, like, I've noticed this in our life. When my trainer says, I need you to get this, I don't ask questions except, can you give me a link? I don't want to buy the wrong thing. Like, just send me what you need me to get. I'm going to buy it. So the quality of the referral is, I think, in especially our community, the equine community, is of the highest caliber because it's my trainer told me to get this. I'm just going to get it. I'm not, we don't even shop around. If she sends me the link, I want to get exactly what she asked for. And so I always felt like the retailers and manufacturers on that end, they would want to work with these trainers because it is a super high quality referral, a high conversion, and frankly, the loyalty on the consumer end is not to the brand, it's to the trainer.
Mm. Well, that's a
Well,
trust
let's.
factor, right?
It is a
I mean,
trust
they
factor.
trust that you trust the professional, you trust their judgment. They know you, they know your horse, they know what you need. You're going to go buy what they say.
Yeah. So let's walk back. You grew up in a business family. You were a black sheep. How did horses enter your life in that? For all of us, it's a bit different. But how did that become a thing for you?
Yeah, so that stage, I was 16, 15. I was probably almost 15 going on 16. And part of it was I was part of the, I was in this part of the high school program, like where we had to have community service hours. We had to have like 150 community service hours, like our junior, senior year. And, and so I decided, I was like, you know what? Like a bunch of people are volunteering at like the hospital or, or doing something like that. And I was like, I want to be outside. So I started volunteering at an equine rescue, and there was like family friend connections that were like, hey, you should volunteer there. And so it's a bunch of middle-aged ladies that basically are trying to rescue these horses. The rescue was brand new and I'm 15 years old. So it's like, cool, you can pick up heavy stuff. You can pound T-posts, you can move limestone, you can move stall mats. Like, I didn't know anything about horses. But at that point, I was just like the barn boy. Like, I can move heavy stuff and be physical labor. And so I was there, initially about the first 6 months, and I started looking around. I started getting more responsibility. Like, coming, the barn was a mile and a half from my house, and like we grew up in town, but this place was like right outside of town. And when I turned 16, I was able to like start feeding those horses in the morning. So I'd go out there before school, feed all the horses, and then go to school for the day. And while I was there, the horses were coming in, but they weren't getting adopted as quickly as what I thought they should be. And so they were healthy, they were vibrant, they were like 2 to 6 years old. And I'm like, why aren't these horses going anywhere? I have no experience. And so I'm just asking questions. And they're like, well, they're pasture pets basically, but they're 2 to 6 year old pasture pets, and they're going to live for another 20 to 25 years. So not very many people want to adopt a pasture pet that's doesn't have much utility, right? Doesn't have an education. And they're like, well, if it had an education, they'd be more adoptable. And so basically, my very first job in the horse industry was a groom in a hunter jumper barn, and I spent a summer at a hunter jumper barn, local hunter jumper barn, grooming horses, helping. They had like a couple kids camps that summer, helping them out with the kids camps, and um, I mean, if I looked at a horse dead on, I couldn't tell you the difference between a mare and a gelding. Like, I mean, I just didn't know anything about horses, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'd be like looking underneath their back legs to figure out who was who, right? And because that bay horse with the white little star in its head, there was 2 or 3 of them, and to me at the beginning they all looked the same, right? You just couldn't. And so went from there. I actually worked for 4 summers at an Arabian performance horse facility. He's one of the top Western performance horse trainers. What we call main ring, so like Western pleasure, English pleasure type horses in the Arabian side. Worked there for 4 summers, really got a really good foundation in taking care of performance horses and being able to understand how that world works. And
now at this point, had you ridden? Had you
No.
starting to work with just stuff
No.
around the barn?
Yeah, no, it was around the barn. I really didn't start riding until I was 19. And so I started getting around horses when I was about 15. And not to say like I didn't like horseback ride, because I find there's a big difference between like riding and horseback riding. And so like
I've
not to say I
sat
didn't
on a lot of horses.
Yeah, I
before
might have
learned how to
sat on
ride.
a horse a couple of times. At the rescue, I did sit on a horse I shouldn't have sat on, and I got wrecked pretty good. And the ironic part with that story actually was we met at one of the facilities, and they had this 6-year-old mare that had been in the rescue for like 2 years, and it was pretty brutal what that horse went through. And she had been there for a while, and she was very friendly to be around, and they had saddled her and walked her around, man. And they put this synthetic saddle on this horse. They're like, hey, why don't you just get up there and sit on her, right? And so like there's this lady, and I'm just call a spade a spade. Like, she's middle-aged, she's overweight, and she's not very athletic, and she's holding on to the horse. And I'm going to get on this horse. And I told my brother, who's not horse related at all, like, hey, on the other side, because the stirrups weren't bent, it's a synthetic saddle, it's a piece of junk.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, when I step over, just put my foot in that other stirrup. Well, I swung over on her, and as soon as my butt hit the saddle, I felt everything just like ball up underneath me. And she sent me up. I mean, I remember looking to my right, seeing the gutters on the barn. And then what the scariest part was when I went up that high, when she just started to throw me up, like I felt the stirrup get tight because it jerked me back down.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like was like, oh no, I'm gonna get hung up and drug. And I ended up underneath her, got kicked right above my collarbone, stepped on my back, stepped on my arm. And that night we were going to see a movie that was debuting, which was the movie Buck. And so I showed up to the movie theater in my local small town, concussed all to hell and back, with a hoof print on the back of my shirt. And half the town already knew that I'd gotten a wreck by the time we got there, because that's how small towns work. And I sat there and watched this movie. And again, not being exposed to the industry, I watched this and I'm like, there are people that already have the answers, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So you're watching Buck, the documentary on Buck Brannaman.
Yeah, of Buck Brannaman. And so I'm watching this, and like, I'm 16 at the time, and I'm like, whoa, there's people that are traveling the country, they're teaching this. They already know it. Like, I could go learn from these type of people, because at this point I was literally trial and error. Like, I had a round pen, and I was just figuring it out. Like, I knew how to lunge a horse, I knew how to saddle a horse, but I didn't know how to read body language. I didn't understand like equine psychology. I didn't have any training techniques or nothing. And so I was really just more I grew up around dogs. My dad bred German Shepherds and canine dogs as a kid. So I liked the psychology of training animals, but know nothing about horses. And I was just trial and error, spending hours and hours and hours. And when I was sitting there concussed watching that film, I was like, whoa, like, I could go learn from people. And so I went and like audited a Peter Campbell clinic, and then turned around and audited a Buck clinic. And I kind of knew I had to get outside my small town pretty quickly if I wanted to absorb more of this because there was I just didn't know who they were in the area that could help me.
Where were you at this time?
North Carolina, in a place called High Point, North Carolina. Yeah, so that was where I grew up for the majority of my childhood, in that area. Um, and so went from there, volunteered at the rescue, like, just trial and error experience, just trying to figure it out. And then went to the University of Kentucky, went to the equine program there, more or less to appease my parents, because they're like, hey, it's still the traditional, like, go to college and get a degree, nobody can take it from you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew I wanted to go train horses to some capacity. But even the Arabian performance horse trainer that I worked for, like, he was trying to talk me out of it. I asked him numerous times, especially the last year I was there. I was like, "Can I ride? Like, can I pay you for lessons out of my paycheck?" And he's like, "No." Like, they didn't teach beginner lessons anyway, but he was kind of like he was a mentor, and I think he kind of looked at it as like this young kid. And he's like, "Go get a better career. Like, don't be a horse trainer."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Don't be like me.
yeah, and I was already bit. Like, I was so mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I was so far in it already. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna find someone that is gonna help me, because, and so I went to the University of Kentucky. That's where I met my wife, and went through the program. And the biggest asset there was my networking. Internships, meeting people, getting out there. Great staff that helped with that, but it was really getting into these internship programs, which led me to riding with a guy named Kit Fladland, who was one of Buck Branham's assistants during the whole horse whisperer days and stuff like that. Spent some time out there doing that program, and I just kept trying to level up the horsemen that I was around, and developing my horsemanship, because I wanted to train horses, and it's a results based business. You have to be able to get high quality results, and I already had a chip knocked on my shoulder when I was 16, when someone's like, "Hey, what do you want to do with horses?" And I'm like, and there was this 22, 23-year-old, barn manager. And I'm like, "I think I want to train horses." "Oh, you can't do that. Trainers always grow up riding horses." And I'm 16 years old. I'm like, she knocked a chip the
Yeah,
size of an iceberg in my shoulder, because I was like, yeah, yeah, watch,
yeah.
you know.
Tell me I can't do something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was real good motivation. And so, that pushed me to continue going further at it, and
Did you
just
find, sorry to interrupt you, uh, I didn't grow up in a horse family. So when I showed up to university, Central Washington University in Washington, and joined the rodeo team, uh, I just got looks until I graduated of like, your family's not, we don't know your family. What are you doing here? Um, and I do think there is an advantage. Like, I look at my kids, I'm like, man, I wish they were horse people and I learned how to do this when I was their age, because I'd be so much farther along. Did you find, like, was that a constant theme, when you were starting out, of that you didn't grow up in it, and why are you here?
yeah, so I mean, it was kind of funny, like, when I was real little, and like the Santa Claus thing was real and then it wasn't real, I still poked at my parents a little bit, and I was like, they're like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And they had looked at a property one time when I was younger, and it had 25 acres. And I grew up like in town with like this postage stamp backyard on a golf course. And so, like, 25 acres was like 100,000 acres.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, and so I told him at Christmas, I was like, "I want a horse, a cow, a rope, and 25 acres. Like, that's what I want for Christmas." It's like not too much to
It's
ask,
not
right?
just a pony. I need the
No,
acreage, a cow.
a rope and a horse. Yeah, I was like, a horse, a cow, and a rope, and 25 acres. And then my mom always added, and then I wanted an elf to do all my homework, because I was a big fan of delegation. So, I was like, if you could throw that in, that'd be good. And, I think in the beginning it was pretty, well, one, it was natural that I wish that I grew up with that. Um, and it probably does fuel a little bit of the lifestyle we provide for our kids. Of, I'm kind of giving them a little bit of the lifestyle I wish I grew up with. Not to
I
make
think
them
that's
live
pretty normal.
vicariously through me, but it's also a lifestyle my wife and I want, and it's something that we enjoy too. As I got into the industry, yeah, I mean, there was numerous instances of the 22, 23-year barn manager that was like, "You didn't grow up in this, so you're not gonna be able to do it." And I'll just leave that at that. And that knocked a chip in my shoulder. And then uh, there certainly are cliques in the industry, of whether you are a part of it or you're not a part of it. There was a style of horsemanship, the vaquero style of horsemanship, that I was very, very, very attracted to. Still love it. Still love the riding cow horse. I love the tradition of vaquero horsemanship. Um, but I got a scholarship through the Legacy of Legends program, but and I don't know that I've said this publicly, but I've definitely shared it, which is the fact that I wanted to be a part of that community for really bad. Like, I love the style, I love the values. I didn't grow up in it. I am the outsider in it, but in some of the circles that is that community, they're very cliquish, and I couldn't get it. They would just, oh, like, you're not part of the cool kid club, and so it's like, cool. Well, I'm not going anywhere. That's just how I'm wired. I'm not going to quit. So if you're not going to let me play and participate over here, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I've always kind of had that edge. Like, I'm not going to quit. For better or for worse, my blessing and my curse is I will not quit. And so I tried. It hurt pretty deep because I had some people that mentored me from like that community, and I was like, I really want to be a part of it, but just from a whole, they're just like, you're not one of us. And I'm like, well, and from an industry standpoint, like, I'm like, you see it in the hunter jumper world, you'll see it across disciplines.
You see it
And
everywhere. Barrel
you see it everywhere. You can see it in
racing,
the cutting horse
everywhere.
community. You can see it in the dressage
Oh, yeah.
world. And it's like, at a certain point, and this is something I've been really heavy on, which is like, get over yourself, because our industry is shrinking. We're economically growing, but participation is shrinking. And I think at some point we'll all have to kind of lift our helmets up or lift our hats up and realize you got to welcome the new guys, right? Whether they just want to participate and be part of a recreational deal, or they want to do it on a recreational amateur basis, or if they do have professional aspirations, because participation has been shrinking for the last 20 plus years. And this cliquishness is one of the enemies of that. And I mean, I think everybody experiences it to some degree. I think, for better or worse, my kryptonite to that was I wasn't going to quit, and if I wasn't going to be accepted over here, did it hurt for sure? But I guess I'll find a different path, and I'm just kind of trusting that God's got a bigger plan. Like, because if I would have fallen into that community, I kind of knew what the life would have looked like, but man, it looks totally different now.
Yeah, and that's one question I have. Like, what did success look for then? But before I ask you that question, how that changed, when we moved from the rodeo community into horse showing, from the exhibitor perspective, the consumer perspective, we were told, like, they're not going to like you. They hate when people are loud. They're incredibly clicky, and you didn't grow up in it. So good luck. But you're not going to enjoy it. And and then I took that as like, all right, well, then everyone's going to be my friend. They're all going to know who I am very quickly. And and if there's someone who acts like that, I'm going to be so damn awkward about it that they're going to change. And I just went in there like out of a rocket ship and was like, yeah, I just got here. I'm 48 years old. I've never done this. And this is awesome. And you're not having fun. Why are you doing this? We should all be having fun. And so that's kind of been with me too, is all right, well, I'm not going to do this for you, but I'm not going to stop because of you. I'm going to just keep moving forward. I told a business owner this morning who had a real bad weekend. And it was her first weekend of business. And I was like, okay, get used to it. It was awful. You're right. This is a grind. And if you're going to quit from your first weekend, your first disaster, get used to it, because you're going to have them all over the place. And if you can't get that resilience to keep moving forward, you're going to struggle. But when you started out, then success, you're saying, kind of looked like being in that lifestyle. What was when you left university, you started your business? What was that like to just, like, how'd you get your first client? How was that?
Yeah, I
How'd
mean,
that feel?
right out of college, I took an assistant trainer position for a big time clinician, and we basically lived in a horse trailer and we're gypsies. We were somewhere else every 3 to 4 days, and that was awesome because I went in that there was no money in it. I was getting like $200 a month. There was might been $100 a week, maybe. I think it was $100 a week, and it was just barely enough, like, to pay for basics, like I didn't have a vehicle at the time, but you used to have cell phone bill, you used to have other stuff that you had to pay. And it was just enough to stay afloat. And I went there with like three main goals, like see the country, get better in my horsemanship, meet more people. And I was like, those are the three baseline goals. I'm not here for the money. And I just came out of college with a degree where all these college professors are like, you should graduate and get $75,000 a year and paid benefits and a car and housing, and you should get all these things. And I'm like, you guys are hiring a kite. Like, I'm very much play the long game. You have to have enough short term wins to skill keep going. But I wasn't naive to the fact that at this stage, coming out of college, I was 22. I was in and out as fast. I graduated in 3 years. Like I crammed my hours in, and I was gave my mom my diploma for Mother's Day, and I was like, "Here, mom, here, happy Mother's Day. Here's my diploma. I'm gonna go, do this." And so, you know, that I went down that track and did that for 18 months. Wife and I got engaged. Basically, the end of that road just came that that business was I was there to meet people, travel the country, get better at horsemanship. They had bought a farm. We've been rebuilding the farm, and they had started leaving me more at the farm while they were traveling because I knew how to run the farm. I helped them rebuild it. I was able to manage that. I didn't want to be a farm manager at the time, so I was like, you just come to a road, and then we're like, okay, time to split. 90% of the time there, loved it, great fit, got a lot done, learned a lot. Got to go to all these major expos, meet a ton of people, and left. And I looked at my wife. It was October. We got engaged, and I was like, all right, I've got a couple deals lined up. I'm going to go out west. I'm going to go like here for 6 months, work for this trainer, go to this other guy for 6 months, and then I want to go to this ranch and do calving season and do the whole ranching thing. And she kind of looked at me and goes, we have a wedding to plan. And I'm like,
We
what's that got to do with anything? And she's like, we have a wedding to plan. And I'm like, but I still have a lot to learn. And
yeah,
it was like,
yeah.
yeah, you do, Colt, have a lot to learn. Like, you have
Yeah,
a
you
wedding to
do.
plan. And so I had some people, we were still in Lexington, Kentucky, where we went to school. And we kind of found that back as a home base. My wife had graduated from college. Um, and so I said, fine, I will train horses for the next 6 months here and through the winter. But calving season is in the spring, is in like May. And I was like, and then I'm going to go out west and we can plan the wedding over the winter. I'll train horses, and then I'm going to go out west. And then at some point in between there, we'll get married. And so she's like, fine. And so we at least bought some time, I think, on her end. And I started training horses. And the first
The
couple months was,
negotiation started early.
yeah, I mean, I maybe over thought how that was going to go. I was like, oh yeah, like because I've been a gypsy, I've been on the road. I was like, I'm completely comfortable. I could live in a cardboard box, and so I start training horses, and it starts with like two horses in the barn from connections that I had made, and it's a slow, rough start. Like a really slow, rough start. And I leased a facility from people that have been in the quarter horse industry for 40, 50 years, and had a really respected name. They hadn't been involved recently, but they had a nice facility that I could lease, and they were going to give me a really good deal to get started, I was just grateful for the opportunity and to be able to work out of there. And they had a lot of the old school mindsets of the industry of how things were supposed to go. And this was back 2017, 2016, 2017. And I left this place where we were charging like $1,200 a month, full board, full training from this top end clinician. And even then, we were like, hey, we knew it was underpriced, but it was still on the upper end or whatever. Went to this place and I was like, I'm gonna do 1,100, and that's what I was getting. And then they're like, there's no way you can charge that. Like, and I remember talking to them. I was like, well, what do you think I should charge? And they're like, you shouldn't be charging more than 600. I'm like, well, I'm paying you $400 a month for the stall. Like, I'm gonna ride this horse all month for $200. Like, no. And so, but they had been experienced in the industry, and I'm like, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be wrong. Like I've always heard this phrase, like you can be right or you can be rich, but you can't be both. And I didn't get into this to get rich, but I also didn't get into this to struggle. And so
Yeah.
I'm willing to be wrong. Like I've been wrong before. And so I was like, these people have been in it. They know what they're doing. They've had the kind of horses that I want to ride, which is Western performance horses. I'm willing to listen. And I dropped my prices to $800 a month. And man, I struggled like hell. And I mean, and my tolerance for struggle, like I know that there's trainers out there that do this for years and decades and whatever, but like I was like 90 days into this deal, and I'm like, this isn't changing. Like I'm not getting any more clients, and I'm looking at what I'm doing. It's the same thing. I'm listening to these people. The results aren't changing. I was like, something has to give. And so I had a mentor. Is a horseman that was in the industry. It's 10, 15 years in front of me. And he called me one day. I was standing in the barn. He goes, "How's it going, buddy?" And I'm like, huh, I got a real opportunity here to lie to him and save my pride, or to be real honest with him and swallow it. And I was like, no, it sucks. I was like, this isn't fun. I got like 2 horses in the barn. I was like, I'm not making enough to hardly pay for groceries. And there's no indication that what I'm doing is going to make this any better. Like I'm working really hard and getting nowhere. and and he was a clinician that was traveling the country, and he had sent referrals to me. And I was like, the damnedest thing is with this whole situation is that people call and they say they want it and they say they'll get back to me, but they don't like commit. And I was like, and he goes, man, because I've talked to them. He goes, they want to send you horses. He's like, but these people are afraid that you're not charging enough to take care of their horse at the level of the quality that they expect. And I was like, dude, I will eat ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly, and I will live on air before their horse goes without, which is the sentiment of almost every horse trainer that's out there, is like, those horses will do what we will take care of those horses before we take care of ourselves, to a detriment. Right. And I was at that stage of willing to do that at a detriment. And he goes, no one's questioning that. No one is questioning your willingness to provide for their horses. They know how much it costs to take care of the horses at the level that you say you do, and he goes, then I know that you do, and that they expect. And they're like, they don't think that you actually have the resources to do that. He goes, you got to raise your prices. And I was like, that's the definition of insanity, dude. I was like, I don't have enough clients. I'm going to raise my prices, and it's the one of the most scary decisions I think any business owner has to relate, especially when you're underpriced in the market. And the thing was, and I'm always kind of had this streak of trust the process. Like in this phase, like I was not very God focused. Not to say that I was like running against it, but I wasn't focused on it. And these were warm bloods. These were English horses, hunter jumper horses, and dressage horses that were coming to me, and they were used to paying definitely more than $800 a month for trading. And so I remember I went from 800 to 1200. That was the first price increase that I made, and I was like, percentage wise, that's a pretty good jump. And so I made that,
Yeah,
and
50%.
then yeah, exactly right. Like 50% price increase is hefty,
That'll
and I
make
was
you
like,
pucker.
okay. And I made that commitment. I was like, the next person that calls, I'm telling $1,200. Like that's it. What do I have to lose? I already don't have a horse in the stall. Like if another one doesn't show up, it doesn't matter. I'm not out anything. And so I ran with that, and but I realized the pricing didn't match the value. And at that moment, after I hung up the phone, I can tell you what stall I was standing in front of in this conversation. Like it was just one of those emotional anchor moments that it was a complete turn point. And I got off the phone and I was like, I've got to change some things. Like I cannot, like I've been listening for like, and everyone's like, you only listen for like 90 to 120 days. Listen, I listened long enough to figure out this wasn't going to work. And I was looking around me at the people that they were saying, hey, you should go learn from this person. And they're broken, burnout. They've been in the industry for 4 decades and they got nothing to show for it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to get rich, but I'm not trying to end up in that position.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be living in a really nice double wide. Sorry, I have nothing against it, but that's not the life that I want for the kids that I would like to bring into this world.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
wife has higher expectations than that. And so I can tell that where I feel called to go and that what I'm doing is not going to get me there. And so I've got to change what I'm doing. And that's it. Started, the first decision was the pricing, but then I realized, like, okay, I've got to have a better like, if I'm going to raise the price, I have to have a process to bring those types of clients in. And so we just started
And
building
you were
systems.
kind of already primed for that, I'm assuming. Like I know at our dining room table, we had been talking about logistics and leadership and HR and processes and systems. And my dad, when I started my business, kept telling me like, "Hey, you need to systematize these things to bring in some efficiencies to increase the likelihood of sustainability and increase your profitability." And I'd always look at him and just be like, "Hey, I'm not manufacturing chili here. I'm not making underlayment for carpets. Like this is different, Dad." And in the end, it wasn't. It was the same thing. And so once I got over that, we changed and grew substantially, and so did my pocketbook. But your background, it seems, already kind of predisposed you to like, okay, we did a 90-day test. In business, that's a great sprint. It didn't work. Now I got to change. And is that
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of where that comes from?
I had some childhood experiences that weren't super great, and I got really solutions oriented because of it. And I realized, like, I just my tolerance for things that are not going to work or not going to serve me runs pretty thin. Like, I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to try it. I'm 100% in on that. But when I have enough evidence that this isn't going to work, I've got to shift something. Like, the mission that I'm on is too important, and that for me as a trainer at that point, right? Like, serving those horses, serving those clients was far more important than me getting hung up on like my own limiting beliefs. And so I had to make that shift. And like in that moment in that barn, I remember I'm like, it was literally like a mental shaking of the dust off of like, I'm done. Like, I'm just going to get back to what I know. Because yes, it was client experience and product design and finances and sales and marketing. And like, that was the childhood of like being picked up from school and getting drugged back to the office and then having to do homework, but overhearing the conversations, or, my parents talking business in the car while we're a captive audience in the back seat. And they didn't sit us down and go, this is how you do this. They never gave us like formal business type stuff. It was just more what we picked up through.
You lived it, yeah.
Yeah, we just lived it. And so at that point, I didn't have structure to follow, but I had like life lessons that I could lean back on. And there was no one in the horse industry that I could find, and really, like, that's why we've moved in the direction that we did to help professionals on the business side. Because a lot of people assume that if you want to be good in business in the horse industry, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think
Yeah.
that's
It's a
total
weird
bogus.
mentality.
It's a stupid thing, because it's like, if you're really serious about serving your horses, your clients, and your students, and that's truly what we really are prioritizing, but your business makes it more difficult. It drains you of time. It drains you of finances. It drains you of these opportunities because it's not running well. Then you don't actually believe what you're saying. Because I think that it's like faith without works is dead. So your actions prove your beliefs, not what you say. You can be self-righteous and say, I'm in this for the horse. But if your business is taking you away from doing the horse stuff really well, I don't think you actually believe that. Like, your business to me is the vehicle to do what you do really well. And it should make it more sustainable. And the profit, any business owner, everyone, like, I don't even get concerned about people that think profit's the enemy, because it's dumb. Because anybody that owns a business knows that profit goes right back into the business. Like, it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
continually gets reinvested. So you need the profit though, so you can reinvest. Like, this industry is
yeah,
expensive. And
yeah,
and so it's all about serving people, but it's doing the right things in the right ways for the right reasons at the right time, and being able to do that really, really well. And so I just had to tap into that foundation, that business foundation, which, with that relationship with the facility I was leasing, made things really rocky, because I started doing things differently. I started raising my prices, and it made them uncomfortable. I wasn't listening to them, right? And because I
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
listening to them, they weren't super thrilled with me. And I mentally was outgrowing the box that they lived within, because they had these perspectives that worked within their lifestyle. And I was, in a completely different realm. Like, right before I left that facility, I flew back to China for the first time since I lived there because for a horse expo, because the horse, this was right before Trump nixed a lot of the exports to China in his first term. And part of what was going on in the horse industry was some import export of horses back and forth. And I flew there right before it got nixed because I was like, this could be a really good opportunity. I could brush up on my Mandarin. We can see where this goes. And the horse market over there is really fascinating in China. And so I flew back over there, and then that was like so expansive that it just blew up my relationship with that particular facility. And I was like, all right, toodaloo, because
And
it was just a
we
mental
all
thing.
kind of, yeah, we all kind of outgrow the people who, brought us there. And that's
Yeah.
what hopefully, I want with my kids. But that's tough. You bring up a story, the pricing story is one I hear a lot, not just, especially in the horse professionals community, but also everywhere else. I went through the same journey, but my mother-in-law, who passed last year, is a Western artist, and she's phenomenal. And she was at a show in Whitefish, Montana. And the running joke there now is the billionaires are chasing out the millionaires. And she is accomplished. She's had her artwork at the Met in New York. She's amazing. And the person came up, but she's from Hot Springs, Montana. And couldn't imagine selling a piece of artwork for $50,000. It's not there. That this person came in and she wanted to buy this piece of artwork, and she loved it, and she had the place right for it in her house. It fit over the fireplace. It was just going to tie their whole I just moved to Montana from New York City life together. And when my mother-in-law told her the price, she's like, oh, I couldn't possibly put something in my house that cost that was that inexpensive, and walked away. And it was the four P's of marketing are still super valid, and price is one of them. And if you're not charging enough, that person who has the money is going, well, why? Like, I can do the math here. They're not earning a lot. Why are they even riding my horse? Like, I wouldn't ride someone's horse for $100 a month or $200 a month. Why is
Yeah.
this person? So there's, and I had a friend who knows I run businesses, and I have horses, asked me to help a horse trainer friend of hers that I had never met. And he had that philosophy of like, I don't need help. I charge what I need to charge, and I'm fine. And he was living, in a camper in the back of his pickup truck, and was working with horrible horses, making no money. And so that there's a mentality that I don't want to get into it. There's like a background of they don't know that like price is part of that, a huge part of that perception.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think the other thing too that I hear a lot in the horse industry, and I'm you have to take the full context in, and not that we have enough time to take the total full context, but it's understanding that most trainers are well underpriced, or just horse professionals in general, and there's a market of people that are willing to pay it, and if you don't charge it, you can't get it. So they'll pay it if you charge it, and in fact, some people, like the example of your mother-in-law's story of like, if you don't charge it, they may not buy at all because they're attracted. They expect a certain level of quality, and they expect the pricing to be in the same ballpark as what the quality is that they're purchasing. And and then everyone in the horse industry goes, well, then that means that everybody's just going to price out everybody in the industry. If everyone raises their prices like that, it's like, because it won't happen. There's so many people that are struggling with limiting beliefs that will constantly give themselves some reason to charge less. They will. So guess what? There's always going to be the cheapest option. There's always going to be somebody that will do it for less. But if you want it to be sustainable, don't do that. Like, especially with it being a service based industry, it's there's only so much scale. You have to. It's a boutique approach to this of high quality, high value, get paid for the quality you provide. And that doesn't mean that you're overcharging. You're just charging for what you're actually providing. And I mean, you can look at plumbers. How much does it cost to call a plumber come out to your house? Like $150 just to show up,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then you're probably $400 or $500 in it for a baseline fix at the end of the day. And people at horses are like, I could never charge that. And it's like, well, you can't if you don't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's understanding how to actually do the pricing and the structure. And there's a difference between a 90-day client that's there for a colt starting and someone there that is going to have their horse in training for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Like the pricing structure is going to be different, but most people don't understand the concept of lifetime value of LTV
Right.
and how to set it up to where it is sustainable for somebody like you that might go, I'm going to leave my horse in the trainer for the long term. And there's a pricing structure that associates that, but it doesn't mean it's the cheapest.
Yeah. So, there's two questions I want to ask. And one is, you've mentioned a number of times limiting belief. And that's something I've not grew up. I had mentors and coaches I hired. And a lot of times we weren't dealing with pricing or sales or marketing. We were dealing with my limiting beliefs. So it's something I'm very familiar with. But talk to me, there may be listeners who have never heard that concept before. Talk to me a little bit of what is a limited belief? How is that impacting horse professionals?
Yeah, well, I mean, the limiting beliefs, I mean, you got to look at what you believe, right? At the very core, what is it you believe? And I made the comment earlier that it's not just what you say, it's what you do. And so don't be a hypocrite, right? If you say what you mean and mean what you say, and I believe that, I've been wrong before, right? I've had things that I believe that were not true. And in order, my North Star is to reach like my fullest potential. It's like the purpose that God created me to be, which means that there's people on my path that I'm meant to serve. And in the horse industry, for us, a lot of us are very committed to serving the horses and our clients and our students. And it's like, okay, so anything that holds me back from serving my horses, my clients, my students, my family at the very best that I was meant to be able to serve them needs to go away. Whether it's a belief of, which can be a money belief, right? And so, for example, like, this is something from a guy named Myron Golden, but he talks about like there's what people believe money is for, and you could ask yourself, well, what is money for? And it's a belief system. What do you believe money is for? And I bet you there's some horse professionals, and I'm just going to throw this out there, like someone might go, hey, well, money is I need to make money so I can pay my bills. Okay, that's a poor person mentality, because that's what money is for. So that means you go to work to pay your bills. Well, that's barely sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Because things continue to get more expensive. That means you got to get a price increase, but that's tough, right? Because the pricing, the salary increase isn't going to go as much as the inflation is. And so a poor person mentality or broke person mentality is, I think that money is to pay bills. And then the middle class persons go, well, money is to buy things. So they can buy boats, they can buy trucks, so they can buy, they buy recreational stuff. They can oftentimes do it so they can get debt, right? They can go finance their toys. Yeah. And then you get more of a wealthy type thing, which is, well, money, I can use money for investments. So I can take my money and I can reinvest it in my business, or I can reinvest it in the stock market. I can reinvest it in something else that's going to get me a return. And then you get like, I think where's a top level mindset is like, I can take that money and invest it and get my time back, right? I can go get delegation. I can build a team. I can, that money buys time so that I can focus my time on where I'm needed. And so beliefs though go, well, how do I think about money, or how do I think about time? And anything that holds you back from serving those that you're meant to be serving, or fulfilling the purpose that you were created to fill, those are limiting beliefs. So we have to be willing to be wrong and then go, okay, if that's not moving me forward, it's holding me back. And then what do I replace that with? I don't just get rid of it. I got to replace it with something that's better, because you don't just get rid of things. Something's going to fill its spot. You take a horse out of a herd structure, there's not a hole in the herd structure. Everything just reshapes and it reforms to where another horse fills that spot. And our beliefs are the same way. And so we have to look at that and go, oh, well, the pricing thing, oh, that's all about just, it's just about being greedy. It's like, that's limited belief. That's not true. Because if I charge what I'm worth, then perhaps instead of taking 22 horses in training, I can take 8 and I can do a higher quality job, and I'm not just burnout and broke and broken in the process, and I can do a better job for these people. But then there's other ways I can serve, right? If it's a cheaper thing, I have a more scalable way. I can do group lessons because now I've got the time. If I have 22 horses, I don't have time to teach a group lesson. I
You have
barely
no
got time to
time.
eat,
You have no
right?
time to do
But if I
anything.
got 8 horses or 6 horses in the
Yeah.
barn, I can ride those inefficient. I've got time to do the delivery of what those clients paid for. I've got time to work on my marketing. I've got time to do group lessons, or I can have the 4-H kids come out and charge them nothing. And everybody, and I think the most self-righteous thing in the horse industry, it cracks me up, is like, oh, you should just do it for free. And it's a low level mentality. I don't waste too much time on it because it's a very low level
Yeah.
mentality. They're like, oh, you should do it for cheaper. You're charging too much. You're
If you
charging.
love the horse.
Yeah, my goal is my philosophy on it is full price or free. That's how we price. If you ask, like when we put a price on something, whether it's coaching, consulting, software, whatever we help with, even horse training, right? And I don't really ride horses for the public right now unless it's a performance horse. But they, when the pricing comes in, it's either I'm going to give you the full price or I'm going to give you a free price. That's it. I'm not playing in between because everyone wants to get caught in the middle. And if you are in the middle of full price and free, you get killed. And so we have high ticket pricing. Like everything we do is fairly high ticket. And but that allows me to have time and to have the resources that if a kid wants to come out, and the neighbor kid came by my place the other week and he's just like, hey, can you help me with this horse I'm trying to ride? I'm like, yeah, just bring it up. And his dad's like, what do I owe you? I'm like, nothing. Like, just you're a kid. Like, let me help you with your horse. Like, go have fun. And because I don't want the kid's money. Right? Like, it's not about the
Yeah,
money.
yeah,
It's about helping
yeah,
the kid with the horse.
yeah.
And but if I was so stretched thin and I needed money all the time, I'd have to charge it. Right? And so everyone gets self-righteous about you should do it for less so you can help more people. I'm like, I can help a hell of a lot more people if I go make good money, and then I can help a lot of people for free.
And if I'm
And
broke and homeless, I can't help anybody.
yeah, and that's like I've made
Yeah,
all my horsemanship content that was on the internet, that was in a paid community. I made it completely free. It's on an app.
yeah.
I paid to develop the app. We've put hundreds of hours into that community, and I made it free because I want it out there. I'm tired of bad information in the horsemanship world, and there's a lot of people that are manipulating people into
Yeah.
emotional stuff. And I'm like, just go take what works. This is exactly how we run our
Yeah.
training program.
And
Go do it.
I love the content you've been putting out recently of like the horsemanship needs to improve. That's a great
Yeah.
series. Limiting belief. I love talking about it because I had one that kept me at a certain level of success, but not just financial. My limiting belief that I had a coach walk me through was like, I stumbled upon all of this and I'm lucky to be here. And whatever success I have is not because I took advantage of opportunities or I'm unique to do it in this particular way. And that led me to being happy with overwhelm or accepting of overwhelm, low prices, crappy clients, horrible employees, because I'm just lucky to be here. So that limiting belief, like trying to figure out what yours are huge. Because when I got through that and went like, oh, actually, I'm really good at this. And
Mhm.
people should pay me to do their marketing because I'm really good at it. And that went from, a $500 client or 30 $500 clients to three $10,000 clients, where we could service them tremendously. I could hire really good people. So now I'm working with people who value me. The employees are valued and I value them, they value me. And that really changed. And one of the limiting beliefs I've kind of heard lately is because there's been a lot of talk about increasing prices. And I've even had it with some of my trainers to my own detriment that I, in essence, raised my costs for the training. But I hear a lot of like, well, if we all raise our rates, we're going to push out all these great people who can't afford it. And now you're going to have this huge disparity. The only people who will be able to get into this are the people who can afford $2,000 a month in training and $100,000 horse and all these kind of things. How do you talk to a horse pro who's kind of going through that? How do you deal with that?
That's a great question. And so there's we have to look across the industry, and this is something I'm actually like starting. Like I've been talking about this on YouTube a little bit, but
Hmm.
we're trying to crack out the business models because there's not a structure necessarily in place right now. There's elements that exist kind of in different sectors, right? So in the English world, you see a very regimented a facility owns horses and they have those as lesson horses or they lease those horses out. And so there's a lower entry point. And yes, there are lessons available in the Western performance horse world, for example, but not in that way. Like it's not like there's a whole facility that has a string of 9 or 12 lesson horses and then they run that as a business model, which is a more palatable way, and it's a lower investment for someone to come in and start taking a weekly lesson or 2 times a week to start getting involved. And so, to the directly of like how do we not price people out is from a business model standpoint, there has to be a lower barrier of entry that we have to get people interested. We've been blessed with Yellowstone, and we've been blessed with some cultural swings of people wanting to get back to the homestead and this ranching renaissance, if you will, of people wanting to get back to the land, which is great because they're seeking something that's real, that is tangible, that they can experience, not AI driven, not internet driven. They want to get hands on, which guess what? You can't replace that with horses. Like you want to go get your hands dirty, you want to go get in the barn, you want to be a part of it. That means it's a massive opportunity for people. And we need certain people that want to build businesses that are designed to drive interest into the industry. Like people that want to serve people that, like this is kind of an example I threw out there is, a facility that could, you know how like couples, they go like, they do like pottery or they paint or they
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
something as a date night type thing.
Yeah,
Like
paint and sip.
if you could do like an opportunity, like on a Wednesday night or a Saturday night, or somebody could build a whole business around like this is designed for the local community to come out and do something that's simple, but it involves horses. And what we would find is that over time, as enough people start to have those experiences, somebody's like, I kind of want to do that again, or I want to go to this other place where they do trail rides and they have guided trail rides, and like that's the next level up because now instead of like for 2 hours with the horse, you're like 6 hours on the back of the horse, and they go from like something on the ground to something more. And so we have to have these. It's a client journey, right? But for the industry of how are we going to bring new people in a at a price point that they can pay to experience it, and then as they step up in value, as they get more serious, eventually you get to the point to where you're like, hey, I'm going to go buy the $40,000 horse, and I'm going to pay a trainer $225 a month to keep the horse in training. But they don't start there, right? And our ecosystem is really built for people that are already in the lifestyle, and
Yeah.
but it also it is expensive, and it's not a right, it's a privilege. And so I don't have a whole lot of, for people that are like, everybody's going to get pushed out. Okay, listen, if you're serious about staying in horses, go find a way. Like, it's going to be easier for anyone to go make more money than it is for anybody in the horse industry to try to suppress the pricing, because it's just going to, if we try to suppress
It's
the
true.
pricing in the horse industry, everybody gets pushed out because it's not sustainable.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you have to charge what you have to charge to run a business. The people that want to stay in it need to go make the money that they need to make to be able to afford it, right? Take responsibility for what you're responsible for. And then, but the other thing too is doing things in scalable ways, right? So, trainers or facilities understanding that their offer, like teaching lessons, instead of teaching a bunch of private lessons, teach groups of 3, right? And okay, so now instead of you
That's a great
charging
point.
$100 for a private, let's say you charge $70 for a group of 3 for the same amount of time. Well, now they each saved $25. They still had a nice intimate experience, and you made $225 in the same hour, right? So like that's where the thing people think it's all about. Like if it's about price increases, it's all about the business owner, and that's not how at least I go about pricing structure, because it's again, how do we keep people involve longer because they'll spend more money over the long term, but still getting paid what we need to pay. So like a private lesson into a group lesson saying, I don't teach private lessons anymore. And if you do, it's $200 for the private because it has to make sense. But you
Yeah.
can come in and take small group lessons where you're with people at your same level with the same personalities, everybody gets along. And now you have a scalable way to serve more people at a more affordable price, and you make more money for the time that you're putting
Yeah.
into it. And so I mean there's so many. I mean, there's so many. You got farriers, you got body workers, you got trainers, you've got boarding facilities, and I love this stuff because this is about designing a business that serves people at a very high level. Like, this is about making sure it's high quality results, high quality experiences, and then you have the structure, you have the pricing that makes that possible. That takes care of them. It is affordable, right? And certain things are and affordable is so subjective, which is why it makes me laugh. Like if you charge $1 for something, there's somebody that can't afford it, which
Yeah.
is why
Yeah.
I'm like, so this
And
idea that
someone
we're
thinks
going to
it's way
call
too
it,
cheap and I couldn't get
yeah,
anything.
it's like, yeah, like you're different. Like from a pricing standpoint, whether you charge $1,200 or $1,500, that's arbitrary. That's not. There's not a big difference. The person that can pay $1,200 can pay $1,500. So just charge $1,500 to get over yourself. But the idea that we're going to be affordable, I'm like, go charge full price and give shit away for free. That's my philosophy because I know I've done it, I've tried it. And if I try to price myself in the middle, man, you get obliterated. Like you absolutely get obliterated. And I don't need to worry about that because other people are going to do it anyway. So let them knock their socks
And
off.
that's a really good point is like, if you're worried about the equine community and people being pushed out, like, is that your responsibility? What's your responsibility? You, your family, your clients, all of those things. And like you said, way back when we started, there's always someone going to be pushing or chasing the price. There's always, someone coming up who's going to be chasing the price. There's always going to be a competitor who is not going to be able to charge enough. So they'll have people, to go to. We're right at an hour. Do you have some more time, or
I'm good
we
right
can?
now. I've got a call in like 50 minutes, but I'm good right now.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I've got a call in like
You're,
45 minutes, but other than that, I'm fine.
well, let me ask you another question or two. Let me ask you one more question. Then I want to hear, so our listeners can hear all about your services. Um, the the last question I have for this is, um, what's the if you're talking to in your consulting, you're dealing with horse professionals. A lot of them are stuck. They're in chaos, and uh, they're not enjoying this. It's not sustainable. It's not profitable. Um, what's the one thing you walk them through that they need to get a handle on, change, learn, do differently to kind of get out of that?
You bet. Yeah. And so most people try to dig themselves out of their hole with looking where they're at. They're like, okay, what do I need to do right now? And they look at their current situation, and there's a couple mistakes that get made. One, they look at it from a very personal lens, right? So we're talking about like pricing or something like that. It's personal. And it's like, no, let's get objective. Like let's zoom out for a second and just look at it for what it is. But the other thing too is everybody tries, not everybody, but like a lot of people in that space, and it could be, we kind of work with two different groups. We work with people that are sub $100,000 gross or net, which means like they either haven't grossed $100,000 in their business or they haven't netted $100,000 profit. That's kind of our initial step of people that we help. And then beyond that is people that are, we have a multipliers masterminds, like a private coaching deal. And like that's for people that are building scalable offers or very high ticket offers. And so they might have a course or a membership that they can get to a lot of people and they can make a lot of money and they can help a lot of people, or they're more boutique service, but they're on the very premium pricing end. And they're trying to, we always say we don't do addition and subtraction, we do multiplication. I think that's a biblical thing, but it's also a
Mhm.
a business model of understanding that when we put our time, when we invest our time, our effort, energy into things, we should see multiplied returns, not just because otherwise it's not sustainable. And so um, when when we get started, though, it's so common for people to look at where they're at and they're like, okay, what's the next step for me to get from where I'm at, where am I going to go? And if you just try to go from where you're at to the next step, there's no guarantee that it's going to get you where you need to go. So what we always do is we go, what's the big vision? And let's say it's the 10-year goal. Like, what is the big thing? And I think a lot of horse professionals are like, what do you mean? What is the 10-year goal?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't thought since till I haven't got past noon. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't thought till
Yeah.
Friday. What are you talking about? What's my 10-year goal? And I think
Yeah.
there's been such a suppression too of being able to dream big a little bit in the industry, and being able to actually go, you know what, this is what I'm after. Like, and actually just take the pressure. Like, we all feel as business owners, you're talking about like the relentless grind of just being it day to day. But at some point you have to zoom out and go, where am I going? And I like to start with that 10-year goal. And then I go, okay, if I'm going to coach you for the next 12 months, then if we look at the 10-year goal, where do we need to be in 12 months to get you making sure you're headed that direction? Because if we start with the end goal, and this is where what I would like to encourage people is get clear on where you're going. Because if you start with the end goal in mind, you can build a pathway from where you're at to get there. But most people are so focused on where they're at in their business, and there's problems, there's fires, there's things that you don't like dealing with. And so you're just trying to escape that you're kind of looking down at your feet, just hustling and grinding and working hard, that when you look up in 5 years, you're not where you want to be. And you see that all the time in the industry. Is people like, I really wish that I could have got to this point in my career, but I didn't. And it's like, yeah. And they're like, why? Because they just rode horse after horse and they did work and they grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. And that's part of it. But I think it's about doing the right things in the right ways for the right reasons at the right time. And that means making sure it's going to get me where I want to go. And so, like, when I coach and do consulting, it's like, I need to know where you at right now, but then where you want to go. And the more clear you are where you want to go, then we can actually build a pathway to get there, so that way all the hard work that goes in actually has a chance to get you where you want to go. And some of the people might think that sounds very simple, but you can work really hard and not get where you want to go. And it can come down to the clarity of where you want to go. And then from there, I believe your business is a vehicle to get you there. So let's build the business, let's build the vehicle that will actually get you there. Right. And I love Alex Hermosi's, and I don't know if you've heard this one, but it's like, he talks about, if you got 15 minutes, you could walk, right? And you can go about a mile. If you ride a bike, you can go 3 to 4 miles. If you get in a car, you got 15 minutes, you go about 15 miles. But if you get in a jet, you can go like 150 miles. It's the same amount of time, right? And it all depends on where you want to go, right? Where do you want to go? How far do you want to get in your business, right? In the next 12 months. Okay, this is where you're at, and you're 15 miles away. You need to get in a car. You need a business that is a vehicle that is equivalent to a car to get you there. You're like, no, I talked to somebody else, and they're like my private coaching students. And they're like, they got to get 150 miles. Okay,
Yeah.
we got to build a really efficient model that is going to be sustainable. It's going to be profitable, and it's going to get you where you want to go. And so it's not one size fits all. There are components that make this work, right? Like we say, everything starts with the decisions. Like, it comes down to the decisions that you're making. We have that's the coaching call that I have in an hour, and that's part of what we're getting on is about these decisions, because that's where it starts. I don't care if you have a marketing problem, a sales problem, a client problem. It starts with the decisions, and you got to make them, and you better make them fast, and you better do something, because so many people just toil.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love, like, if you don't know where you're going, you'll get there 100% of the time. And if you don't
Yeah.
look far ahead, and get there, that's awesome. Colton, there are, like, I have a ton of notes and questions we didn't get to. So hopefully you're up for a round two at some
You
time in the
bet.
near future. Talk to us about, so maybe there's someone listening, they listen through this whole thing and they're like, man, I need some of this. I don't know where I'm going. I'm stuck. I don't even know what I want to do in 10 years. What are the services what are you provide? What are you offering right now?
Yeah. Our number one priority is to make it to where there is no excuses for horse professionals not to be successful in the industry. That's the level that we want to support horse professionals, and so we do that basically in four ways: structure, strategy, systems, and support. Like that's kind of our pillars of what we provide to help. And so the primary way we do this, I believe in teaching people to fish, and and I think as a lot of horse professionals, we want to learn, we want to know. At the end, we are our business leader. The business can't grow past us, right? We are the biggest limiting factor and also the biggest key to the next level of success in our business. And so we do that through coaching and consulting. That's our horse business builders. That's the primary offer that we have. And we help businesses that are sub $100,000. And then we've worked with multi-generational, multi-million dollar businesses as well, and everybody in between. And so our focus, we really believe on high value brands and high ticket. And we do a lot of high ticket, but that's not a lot of people that are sub 100. They're not. They're just building the foundation in their business, and they're like, hey, how do I get this thing running super efficient? Because it's me, and me, or it's me and one or two other people.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where I was at the very beginning, and I couldn't afford to hire somebody at the very beginning, and so I needed systems. I needed things that worked for me when I was out doing the other stuff I was actually getting paid to do. And so we ended up we did coaching for quite a few years. And then everyone's like, hey, you're teaching us the systems, but it'd be way handy if we could just have the systems to make this happen. And so I basically got cornered into a software business. And my wife, who is the brains and the beauty behind all this, because she is like, she refers to herself as the tech nerd in the closet, even though she's like not a nerd. She rides horses and she's super handy, but she knows how to do all the actual infrastructure side of things. And so we built Horse Business Manager, and it's basically designed as the most centralized horse business management platform that you're going to find. And so if you're a trainer and you think about how you would custom design a farm to flow and it's just efficient and things work together, it saves you time, it makes you more money, it's easy to use. Or if you're a farrier and you're laying out your perfect farrier rig, that's how it's designed, is everything's in the right place and it works together and it flows together. And that's how we've designed it. And all of those, that horse business manager, those people, we custom build systems in there for each specific business. So that way it's customized to what they need. And so, yeah, coaching, consulting, and the systems to support the business are the two primary ways. We do other like branding and done for you projects from time to time as we have time. But our big thing is that the change that our industry needs from a movement standpoint starts with the professionals. It starts with us running our better businesses so that we can serve our horses, our clients, and our students better. We want to help professionals run better businesses so they can take care of their families. They can do that within the business. And then I think a rising tide raises all ships. So the better that we all get individually, the better this industry gets. And, we all have to do our own part. We have to take responsibility for the things that we have control over and, not worry too much about the rest. And, we can make it happen. There's so much opportunity in this industry. It's ridiculous. I think
Yeah.
so many people, you get locked in on what's not going right. And it's like, I love sitting down with people going, the thing that you thought was holding you back is your greatest lever if you would just pull it. Like if
Yeah.
you would just lean into it, oh man, it can change your life.
I never understood the phrase, I can't see the forest for the trees, until I was a business owner. And I kept smacking trees with my face. I had to step back to look at that forest. Colton, thank you so much. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, follow you, what's the best way to do that?
I honestly think I can say at this point, you can probably just look my name up and you're going to find me somewhere. It's either at Colton Woods Horseman on most platforms if you're looking on social media, horsebusinessbuilders.com or horsebusinessmanager.com there. And we have a podcast called The Horse Industry Voice that you can check out as well. But as far as emailing us, you can email me at support@horsebusinessmanager.com. That comes to my wife and I. I know it's a kind of a generic email, but it does come directly to my wife and I. And you guys can reach me that way. Social media that way.
Awesome. And we will list all those links in our show notes, as well as timestamps and everything. So Colton, this has been a distinct pleasure for me. Thank you for spending time on this podcast talking about, there are literally pages of things I want to go over with you next time. So looking
Let's do it
forward to
again.
that. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Equine Business Edge. If you got value from today's conversation, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this episode with another horse professional who could benefit from it. Word of mouth is how great businesses and great podcasts grow, and your support truly helps us reach more people in the horse industry. And this podcast is proudly produced and sponsored by equinerevshare.com. Equinerevshare.com was built specifically for horse professionals. Trainers, instructors, clinicians, boarding facilities, influencers, breeders, and all sorts of equine business owners who are already recommending products to clients every single day. Whether it's tack, supplements, grooming products, apparel, feed, training tools, or barn equipment, your clients are already asking what you use and trust. And we provide a way for you to make that happen, earn a commission, and all doing it the same way you do it right now. Equine RevShare helps you turn those recommendations into an additional income stream by giving you access to retail partnerships and easy-to-share product links from equine brands and retailers all over the world, all in one place. No complicated tech, no inventory, no awkward selling, just your cell phone. Just a simple way to get rewarded for the influence and trust you've already built in the horse industry. To learn more or get started, visit equinerevshare.com. And thanks again for being here. We'll see you in the next episode of Equine Business Edge.